Am I the asshole forcing my husband to choose between divorce and being a house husband while I work full-time to support the family? Plus new updates. Long story short, my husband, 37M, used to work to support the family while I, 36F, stayed home taking care of our 2-year-old daughter. Last month, he lost his job and told me he felt exhausted and wasn't eager to do anything. I said okay and offered to work so he could look after our daughter at home and get some rest until he feels better. By the way, our daughter goes to daycare, so it's mainly some housework and picking her up. But he said no, he needs his time to be completely free. I got furious because this means either I work while also taking care of our daughter, or our family will face significant financial pressure. But I stepped back anyway and had a hell of a month doing everything while he hung out with his friends and played PS5. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and told him he had to choose between being a house husband or divorce. He chose the first, but it felt forced. I keep questioning myself, was I too harsh? Any good advice would be appreciated. Mini update, I never thought this would draw so much attention. I'm trying to read as many comments as I can and I really appreciate your opinions, especially those pointing out things I should have told him and I didn't. I've decided to show him the post after work and see if we can have a real talk based on that. Again, thank you all. Update 1. So, I got off work, picked up my daughter, and showed my husband the post after she fell asleep. I told him that millions had seen it and made various points. I admitted that my ultimatum was an impulsive reaction and that I preferred having a calm discussion to work through this. He said he was surprised I shared family matters on Reddit and that he wouldn't have done it. He said he wasn't feeling depressed, just tired and exhausted after years of working, and he just wanted to be childish for a bit and really enjoyed the month off. I kind of understood because we used to travel a lot before our daughter was born, and life has been harder since then. I told him I wouldn't force him to work and that he could take his time as long as he could pick up our daughter and do the housework. He hesitated but told me not to worry. I thought this was the end of it. Then, the next day, I came home from work to find his mother there. I was shocked because he hadn't told me anything. She started picking up our daughter and doing the housework. This is driving me crazy because I have never gotten along with her well, and my husband knows this. I feel like he asked her to come so he could continue being childish, disregarding how I feel. His mother raised him as a single mom, and according to my husband, she was very protective and planned to live with him for his whole life. He felt suffocated, so he went to a university far from home and reduced contact with her. I remember one time she came and got sick, vomited, and I cleaned up her mess. Suddenly, she asked her son to come and told him that her underwear was dirty and needed to be washed by hand that very night, even though we had a washing machine. My husband and I had agreed that our marriage was ours and that she wouldn't come and live with us. He broke his promise. I'm considering divorce, but I'm worried our daughter is too young to understand it. I've thought about holding on for a while, but these days of living with her are already driving me crazy, and I don't see a quick end. I've thought about being an and forcing her to leave, but that might lead to divorce. I really need some advice. Thank you all. The husband's post. Am I the asshole for asking my mother to live with us to call my wife's bluff after she posted our family matters on Reddit? I found out my wife posted about our situation on Reddit, so I thought I should share my side too. I lost my job in May and wanted some free time because life after having a baby feels suffocating. I've always been a free spirit, working and traveling, and then I met my wife, Jay. This lifestyle continued, and we traveled a lot, from Tibet to Antarctica. I was a seller, and she had a great business selling replica bags, making enough for us to enjoy our lives. We hit it off, got married, and had a great time together. We even considered being child-free and consulted an older couple on an Antarctic cruise, whose happiness convinced me this could be our future. The thing is, my mom really wanted a grandchild. At the time, I didn't think much of it and felt it wasn't a big deal, so I discussed it with my wife, and we decided to go ahead. Her pregnancy was tough, she had severe morning sickness, and I felt really sorry for her. After the baby was born, she wanted to focus on the baby, and I agreed to hold the family burden alone. Life then became all about work, with no more traveling or other interesting stuff. So last month, I had enough. No more working, no more baby duties, and we agreed to give me a trial break. The past month was quite healing until one day she got mad and suddenly gave me an ultimatum of divorce. I didn't want a divorce, so I started doing housework, which I wasn't prepared for. Then last week, my wife came home and asked me to talk, showing me her post about us in this sub. She said millions of people had read it and called me an immature I was pretty upset and asked my mother to help with the housework so my wife would be relieved and, to be honest, to call her bluff. She's not happy, of course, and neither am I. We've barely talked since then, kind of a cold fight. These days, I've caught her several times watching her phone for a long time and sometimes crying. I believe she posted about us again, and I've been waiting for her to talk even though I wanted to start the conversation but got cold feet feeling the tension in the family. Writing this is easier. So here I am, Reddit. This is my first and last post about it. I just want to share my side of the story. And Jay, if you see this, I'm ready to talk anytime. Update 2. I've been hesitating because we had a great time, and I have been loving you. I didn't talk to you these days because I wanted to see if you would send your mother home and talk. I update now because, as you said in the post, I see you and want everyone, especially those who told me you might have been depressed, to see you. I can't believe you'd rather defend yourself on Reddit than talk to me face to face. If that's how it is, let's do this. Update 3. I talked with my psychologist and then talked with my attorney. After my last post, I was in a weird state. I felt trapped in a limbo where talking to my husband seemed futile, but the thought of divorce felt like an invisible hand was squeezing my throat, making me hard to breathe. I decided to make an appointment with my psychologist, who has known my childhood and understands my background, including my adoption and family dynamics. Yes, I am adopted. Although my adoptive parents treated me very well, I generally don't like to talk about it. Before I had my child, I specifically consulted the psychologist because I was afraid that my unresolved issues might unconsciously affect my daughter. So, during our conversation, she pointed out that the child in me desperately longs for my biological parents, while the love from my adoptive parents makes me reject this idea. As a result, I am obsessed with maintaining the ideal biological family that I never had. This insight resonated deeply, making me realize why I had delayed taking decisive action for so long. After our session, I felt a strong urge to speak with an attorney about divorce. I wanted to prioritize my daughter's future over my illusory family unity. I gave the attorney all the necessary information and expressed my desire for a quick resolution. She informed me that the process could be completed in as little as a week if my husband agreed to cooperate, although it might take longer otherwise. She recommended that I discuss the matter with him to facilitate the process. So I have been planning in my mind to choose a day to confront him. During this period of hesitation, I came home one day to find that my mother-in-law had left. My husband had prepared dinner and apologized for his behavior. He admitted to being childish and expressed deep regret for his actions, acknowledging the negative feedback he received on Reddit. Realizing that so many people found his behavior unacceptable, he understood that he had been in the wrong. I reiterated that divorce might be the best option as I couldn't see a way forward together. In response, he handed me a letter taking full responsibility for the problems in our marriage and admitting his mistakes. He asked for one final chance to prove himself as a good husband and father, promising that if he failed, I could use the letter to proceed with the divorce at any time. After much hesitation, I agreed to give him this last chance and informed my attorney to hold off on the divorce proceedings for now. Although my attorney mentioned that the letter had no legal standing, she assured me she could handle the situation with or without it. For now, I'm cautiously optimistic, willing to see if my husband's efforts will lead to genuine change. If things don't improve, I'm prepared to take further steps to ensure my daughter grows up in a healthy and loving environment. I believe the decision is in my hands, and I am now determined to do what's best for my family. I want to thank everyone for their comments, they helped me see many options. I especially appreciate those who shared their life experiences, providing me with the strength to take action. By the way, I'm back to my bag business. If anyone has any issues or needs help with identification, feel free to DM me. I'll do my best to help, as I feel I owe Reddit for this. I hope this will be my last update. Story 2. My wife pretends to be a 5-year-old little girl. How do I handle this? My 34M wife, 34F, has a 5-year-old little girl alter ego and lives as the little girl most of the time when she is at home. She has a professional job. She's quite good at her job, but she's constantly having meltdowns over her job and not being able to handle it. She cries over it a lot. She finds day-to-day adulting very difficult and has expressed many times that she just wants a parent to take care of her. She acts like an adult when she's at work or otherwise out in the world though. She understands what is appropriate in public and she's very good at convincing people that she's a normal, functioning adult. We've been together for 7 years. We have no kids, for your info. At home, she acts like a little kid. A 5-year-old little kid to be exact. By this, I mean she talks in a little girl voice, she has a nickname for her kid self, she spends most her time at home in nothing but big baggy white cotton granny panties. She walks around saying her little kid name and singing these sing-song rhymes she makes up, often about bodily functions like farting, pooping, eating her own boogers. She says she hates being an adult and that this kid version of her is her true self and the person she's most comfortable being. She wishes she could live 24/7 like that, but she knows she can't behave that way in public. So she behaves this way at home the majority of the time. The only time she slips a little is when we go to a store and she has to go look at the toy section. She collects toys and dolls and things like that. She had a room that looks like a little girl's room. At the store, people have even asked her, "Oh, don't have boys and girls?" She's like, "No, these are for me," but she at least says that in an adult voice. She'll whisper to me I'm a 5-year-old little kid, as if I'd have my own babies. I don't mean she just talks in a baby voice like some women do. She legit sounds like a 5-year-old girl and she's fooled plenty of people on the phone. She's even answered her own phone and pretended to be her own child, saying stuff like "my mommy's busy." This is not sexual for her, and definitely not for me. It's not like those adult babies who have a sexual kink with wearing diapers or getting fed with a bottle. None of that. I don't think she was like this when we first got together. And then when she did talk in that little girl voice, it was only occasionally. It seems to be becoming a much more frequent thing, to the point where if she's at home and we're alone, then she is her 5-year-old self. It's getting a bit annoying. I feel bad for her because the adult version of her is obviously so sad. She hates her adult life. I know this must be some sort of weird coping mechanism or something, but I don't know how to handle it. I didn't marry a 5-year-old girl and I don't want to be in a relationship with a kid. So, what do I do? How do I get her to understand how I feel? If I criticize her at all, she cries. Story 3. My 41 meters, X, 41F, messaged me yesterday saying she no longer wants to see our 2 kids and is happy to give them away in our divorce. How to navigate mixed emotions of this. I posted on here a few months ago, if you want to look at my profile, read them, about my wife kissing another man on a night out despite not having had sex with me for years. I wasn't bothered and was willing to ignore it and carry on, but she kept making issues over it and eventually we split up. I moved back to my home city about 2 hours away and the kids came with me. My ex-wife said it was too far for her to travel to have them at weekends, so every Saturday morning I've been driving them up to her and then picking them back up Sunday evening so they got to see their mom. We'd make fun trips out of it and would take snacks, play audiobooks, have sing-alongs, etc., but I'd noticed they always seemed happier to be picked up than taken there. I just always assumed it was because all their stuff and their main home was with me. My ex has started to cancel these weekends a bit recently. 3 of the last 5 she's canceled. She started to say things like they don't like me anyway and you've poisoned them, which is not true. I've never said a bad about their mum to them or in front of them and never would. Plus I make 2 4-hour round trips every weekend so she can see them and they can see her. I'll be honest, every Saturday after I drop them off I cry all the way home. I miss them so much. They are my little best mates. Every night after dinner we will all do our chores and do a different activity. Sometimes it's a walk in the woods behind my house, or we bake, or have movie nights, or read books together. I'm quite good with my hands and love making and fixing things, whether it's baking, cooking, DIY or car repairs, and they have started to take an interest too, so we have a couple of projects on the go, like building a kind of Wendy house for them, but it will have games consoles, a fridge for their drinks and snacks, etc. Plus we are also building a couple of petrol go-karts from scratch for them to race at a nearby track when they are done, which they are designing themselves and we are building together. Basically my life is taken up with them in the week, and then at the weekends I feel like a lost zombie until it's time to go get them. Then yesterday I received a short text from her saying she no longer wants to see them. All they do is ask for me anyway, they don't have fun there and they basically get in the way. I was absolutely heartbroken for my boys and I rang her straight away. I'll be honest, I started crying as I felt so bad for them and she genuinely acted like I was annoying her for wanting to get to the bottom of it. She then said, sounds like you don't want them either and are just trying to palm them off at the weekends, and hung up on me. I don't even know how I'm going to tell them this. Do I just say she's cancelled for a few weeks and see how it goes? Do I tell them the truth? How do I say it in a way that kids will understand and won't absolutely crush them? Then I've got the conflicted selfish emotion of pure joy that I'll have the whole weekends with them. It's so selfish of me, I know, as they are going to be sad while I'm happy. Has anyone been in a similar situation from my side or the kids' side? How do I handle this?